What's up? How's it going, everyone? It's Mr. M, and I'm here today with a collection update. Heavy as hell. Something I don't do very often is make my collection updates entirely one genre because I'm listening to all sorts of stuff all the time. But this collection update is entirely death metal and some great shit along with that. And we're going to start off with a couple of Maggot Stomp releases because they have been my favorite label of late. Super consistent. Haven't let me down at all since I found out about them. First up, this is 200 Stab Wounds with Piles of Festering Decomposition. These guys are from Ohio. This is their debut release. 3 songs on here, the only stuff that they have out so far. And picture early Suffocation and some of the more recent Dying Fetus stuff, and you have exactly what 200 Stab Wounds sounds like. In particular, the second track, Body in the Basement, the opening riff on that sounds like something that would have been on Reign Supreme. They have a sample that opens up the final track, She Was Already Dead, and then the opening track, Maggot Casket, rounds out this 3-song EP. Super heavy, super brutal. Like I said, Suffocation and Dying Fetus mixed together. And you have a great EP from a great up-and-coming band. Can't wait to see what they do next because that is such a short EP. Next up, we have Human Altar by Infestment. Again, put out by Maggot Stomp. This band features Justin Stubbs, which he has done stuff with Decrepitaph, Father Be Fouled, Ritual, few other bands. This man has been all over the place, and Infestment is another great band that he can add to his list of stuff he's done. I don't want to say it's Cannibal Corpse worship because Infestment does have their own sound, but they draw a heavy influence from the Chris Barnes era of Cannibal Corpse. In particular, the Butchered at Birth and Tomb of the Mutilated era. Absolutely incredible. It's 6 songs. Again, it's super short. I don't think there's a song that goes over 3 minutes. I'm probably wrong about that. But this thing flies by super quick. 3 songs on each side, so you're flipping the tape pretty frequently. But, yeah, great band. Justin Stubbs is the man. I like the majority of the shit that I've heard him on. And like I said, Infestment is just another great project he can add to his resume. And then the band that I have spared no shortage of talking about the last few months. Fluids. This is Ignorance Exalted. Their new EP. They're calling it an EP, but there's 8 songs, which is less than their album Exploitative Practices, but it's 1 or 2 minutes longer than that. So I lack the depth of understanding as to why it's an EP. But the music on here is still good regardless. Again, Carcass-influenced collage artwork. Still super heavy with the Mortician vibes musically. I feel like they focus more on the music with Ignorance Exalted than they did with Exploitative Practices. Not saying Exploitative Practices was bad in any way. If you've heard me talk about it, you know I love that thing. But unlike Exploitative Practices, where they had samples in like 7 of the 10 songs, I believe, this one, there's only 3 samples of the 8 songs. And it also features Captain Chunked, which was on the Heinous Split and then the Little Village compilation as well. I believe they're re-recorded, but I haven't taken the time to listen to them side by side to see if they were. And there's definitely still some grinding elements to here, but I feel like they took more of a death metal approach to this than they did Exploitative Practices. But still, great release. Fluid just keeps doing some great shit. And this one, Ignorance Exalted, Exploitative Practices, Piles of Festering Decomposition, and a couple of other Maggot Stomp releases are all getting the vinyl treatment. At the beginning of September, they're going to go up for pre-order. And I'm definitely going to snag a couple of them on vinyl. For sure getting the Fluid stuff. Haven't decided about 200 Stab Wounds or any of the other releases that they're going to be doing. And then, I'm not going to talk about this much, but this is the Fluids of Death compilation. This version was put out by Desert Wastelands Productions. There was another version with a different album artwork that was released by Grindfather in Europe. And the European version, they pretty much just copied the Faces of Death cover art, which that's how they came up with the name with this. And nice slipcase. I love how they've been doing these VHS slipcases on a bunch of releases. Between Desert Wastelands, Head Splits, I think maybe did one. It's just super great. And then you got the Be Kind Rewind sticker on there. I'm just basically showing this off pretty much because basically, with the exception of 2 songs, the track listing on here is the same as it is with the Little Village compilation. There's 2 songs themed and deliberate full corporal slicing with a cleaver, or cleaved for short. That's legitimately what it's titled right there, if you can even read that. Again, it's Fluids doing what Fluids does best, grinding death metal. But there's also a box set of this, which I chose not to snag. But one thing that they did that's super 90s inspired as well. I might do this actually too, because they're going to be, if you mail them an envelope with this thing on here, they will mail you some stickers back, which obviously that was beyond my time because I was born in the late 90s, but super cool as hell that they're doing these 80s and 90s influenced stuff with the way tapes have been coming out recently. And Desert Wastelands Productions does have a second pressing of Fluids of Death up for pre-order right now. So if you're interested in it, go snag it. Next up is Hyperdontia. This is a super glossy cover, so I'm trying not to touch it so I don't get my fingerprints on it. This is Excreted from the Flesh. Put out, the 7-inch, which I'm showing here, was put out by Misaku and Elho. As far as I know, it's just a one-time pressing, just like the Ulcerat 7-inch was. The tape was put out by Extremely Rotten Productions. There's the interior artwork. This is an old school styled 7-inch with the fold-out cover. Extremely Rottens did the tape, and I believe they're going to keep doing pressings of the tape. I'm not entirely sure about that, but that's the place to get it. It's black with gold splatter. Don't know how well the gold splatter is going to show. And then there's this label on the B side. I love the MSUO's spider mascot, or spider logo. It's dope as hell. So with this release, Dave Mickelson, who was featured on every Hyperdontia release previous, he is no longer on it. I forget his last name, and it doesn't say his last name on here, but Matthias from Sulphurous does guitars and vocals on this. But Dave still did do all the lyrics, so he still had some part of this release, even though he doesn't perform on it. But it doesn't sound much too different from any of Hyperdontia's previous stuff. It still feels like an extension of A Vessel Forlorn or A Nexus of Teeth and stuff like that. It's only 2 songs, little less than 10 minutes. This is basically just holding us over until their next full length comes out. Warping Sacricity and Excreted from the Flesh are the 2 songs on here. Great stuff. Great straight up old school death metal. Like I said, nothing too different from the stuff that Hyperdontia has already done. So if you're concerned about Dave not being a part of the band affecting their sound, it doesn't at all. So give it a listen if you haven't. And then the last release is a reissue. I believe this is its first time on vinyl. I'm not entirely sure. I do know that this was out of print on any physical copy for a while. And that is Pissgrave's Demo, which came out in 2014. And you know, I hate censorship quite a bit, but I'm probably not going to show that album cover just in case something happens. There's a censored album cover. Black on the other side. And for many people, this was their introduction into Pissgrave. Mine was Suicide Euphoria. I came in a bit later. But this was Pissgrave's introduction to the world, and they made sure to make it a worthwhile one. 7 songs of absolutely brutal, excruciatingly heavy death metal. You know, Tim's vocals, I've always loved Tim's vocals. The way he sounds like he's being tortured through the entire thing. You know, great stuff. As far as I know, this was also a one-time pressing, which kind of unfortunate, but Profound Lore put it out, as Profound Lore has done with their 2 full-length albums. And yeah, if you know Pissgrave, you've definitely heard of this by now. And I'll link Profound Lore's merch table down below just in case it's not sold out. Because if you're a fan of Pissgrave and don't have this, you definitely should get it. Otherwise, you'll be listening to it digitally or paying Discogs prices out the ass for it in the future. And that's going to conclude this video. Along with the Pissgrave link, there is going to be links to everything down in the description below for all y'all to check out. Cheers for watching. Thanks for commenting, subscribing, and all of that. And I will catch you in the next video.